World War II had ended. Cities lay in ruins, millions were dead, and the world was desperate for peace. But from the ashes of that destruction, two superpowers rose: the United States and the Soviet Union. One stood for democracy and capitalism, the other for communism and state control. And between them began a war, not fought with bombs or bullets, but with fear, spies, propaganda, and power. A war that would divide the entire planet. This was the Cold War. In the late 1940s, the world split into two camps. America led the Western Bloc, promoting freedom and open markets. The Soviet Union led the Eastern Bloc, demanding equality through control. Each believed its way of life was the only path to truth, and each feared the other would dominate the world. The race wasn't for land anymore, it was for influence. Who could win the hearts, the minds, and the loyalty of nations rebuilding after war? Germany became the first battlefield of ideology. Berlin, once the Nazi capital, was split in two. In 1948, the Soviets blockaded the western half, trying to starve it into submission. The US responded with the Berlin airlift, flying in food and supplies for an entire city. It worked. The blockade failed, but the line between East and West had been drawn, a line that would harden into the Berlin Wall. With fear growing, both sides turned to science and weapons. The arms race began. Nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, missiles capable of ending humanity. The idea of mutually assured destruction kept both nations from pressing the button. If one fired, both would burn. Then came the space race. In 1957, the USSR launched Sputnik, the first satellite. America was shocked. In response, NASA was born, and the race to the moon began. When Apollo 11 landed in 1969, America declared victory. But the competition never really ended. The Cold War turned hot in small countries across the globe. In Korea, communism and democracy clashed. Millions died, and the peninsula remains divided even today. In Vietnam, America tried to stop the spread of communism, but left in defeat after 20 years. Then came Cuba, 1962, the closest humanity ever came to nuclear annihilation. Soviet missiles were discovered just 90 miles from the US coast. For 13 days, the world held its breath. But diplomacy prevailed. The missiles were withdrawn. The planet had survived by inches. Behind the scenes, another silent war raged, the War of Spies. The CIA and KGB fought in the shadows. Agents traded secrets, double-crossed allies, and vanished into history. Movies like James Bond glamorized it, but in reality, thousands lived and died for information no one ever saw. Every country became a chessboard, each move calculated, every pawn expendable. By the 1980s, cracks began to show in the Soviet system. The economy collapsed under military pressure. Then came a new leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, who introduced glasnost, openness, and perestroika, reform. But it was too late. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, and with it, the Iron Curtain. By 1991, the Soviet Union dissolved into 15 independent nations. The Cold War had ended, without a final battle, but with a silent surrender. For nearly half a century, the world lived on the edge of nuclear fire, a balance of terror that somehow kept peace. The Cold War gave birth to computers, satellites, and space exploration, but also to paranoia, propaganda, and endless proxy wars. And though the Berlin Wall has fallen, new rivalries rise from its ashes. Because as long as nations chase power over peace, the world will always feel a little cold.